Tribe? How you guys doing? Welcome back for a retro review. We have A Different World Season 3, Episode 17. So, okay, y'all. Couple of things went down in this episode that I had to refresh my memory on. First of all, I remember part of this episode, but I don't remember all of this episode. So we have Dwayne and Whitley. Okay, sorry, y'all. We have Dwayne and Whitley. Dwayne, Whitley is dating Julian. It's his birthday, and she done bought the man some silk pajamas. Dwayne comes through, and of course, he is letting his jealousy be known. Child, he done counted up the dates. They done been on 13 dates, okay? And they have the conversation about their romance that never was. And Whitley is like, Dwayne, we were just in different places. Like a couple of kisses, does a relationship not make? He said, no, we were definitely, and I don't know if he used the word entanglement, but situation, whatever he said. And Whitley was like, but Dwayne, I basically aren't you glad that we're friends versus us getting involved in something? And she said, listen, I'm happy with Julian. I'm going to set you up. I'm going to find somebody for you. And he was like, no. And she said, why not? She said, we're friends. I want to see you happy. He was like, listen, let's be clear. No man ever wants to be set up on a date by the woman he really wants to be with another woman. Like, that don't even make no sense. And she was like, Dwayne, seriously, I want to see you happy. Let me set you up. So Dwayne ends up talking to probably every man on campus about it. And they all told him the same thing. They were like, listen, go on a date. One, her pride is not going to allow her to set you up with somebody that is not as pretty as she is, or doing it, because then she know that you're going to be like, oh, she being petty. So, I mean, so go out on a date. Plus, she going to get jealous. Go out on a date. Check it out. Now, the sub story this episode is dealing with Jaleesa and Walter. Now, in this episode, Jaleesa and Walter acknowledge that they're no longer dating. So, I don't remember when they officially broke up. Remember, I haven't missed the episode, so I guess they didn't have a breakup moment. Remember when after the wedding episode, I was like, they broke up after that, but then in the next episode after that, they were still dating. So at some point they broke up. I missed it whenever it happened. But they're getting into this conversation because they're looking for a fourth to play poker with. And Jaleesa is recommending women. And Mr. Gaines and Walter are both like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We ain't, women don't know how to play cards. Women aren't, he was like, maybe they can play some bid whist, but when it comes to poker, they can't play poker. And Jaleesa was like, I'm a hell of a poker player, and I can train anybody on this campus to play poker. So they make a bet. Y'all know how Jaleesa and Walter are with these bets, child. So they make a bet. And Walter says, fine, then your partner is Freddie. You got to teach Freddie how to play poker. She says, no problem. And your partner is Kume. I think his name is Kume, one of the African students, who, of course, had never played poker before. And neither had Freddie, child. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out the little sub story, and then we're going to get back to Whitley, Dwayne, and this craziness that they had going on, right? So anyway, they have a week to train. They played in Jaleesa's room that next Saturday night. And so, of course, Jaleesa, her and Freddie, they got their little secret handshake. And Freddie and Kume, they show up, and they got their shades on, and they ready to rock and roll. And they all hot and bothered in the beginning. Everybody's ready to play. They all, yeah. And Jaleesa ends up winning. Freddie actually won the first hand. But then Jaleesa and Freddie end up winning. And the more and more Jaleesa and Freddie won, the more and more desperate Walter got to beat her, right? And it got to the point where Freddie and Fumi, I think his name was Fumi. I think I'm saying Fumi. Anyway, they were ready to go. They were like, let's go get a pizza. Jaleesa done gave them the money, talking about some baby here. It's on Walter. And they stayed there and finished playing poker the rest of the night. By the time it was over, said and done with, Jaleesa had all of Walter's clothes, all his money, and his jewelry. And Walter had to walk out of her room wrapped up in her. Okay? Now, ain't nobody question the fact that man was in there naked. But that ain't my business. That's between the two of them. I ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay? Okay. Now, Whitley and Dwayne child. So Dwayne agrees to go on the date, and Whitley is like, "Oh, that's great." So Whitley ends up setting Dwayne up with a woman who Dwayne had a crush on. He been wanting to hook up with for a while, all of that. And of course, Whitley immediately starts feeling like, because he says, "Oh my gosh, I've never gone out with someone as beautiful as her before." So of course, Whitley immediately was like, okay, that's how you feel. So, she went to so Dwayne and his date, they went out to dinner, and they happened to run into Julian and Whitley. They're at the same restaurant. They're waiting for their dad. Whitley and Julian were leaving as Dwayne and his date were going in for dinner. And so, they all talk to each other, introduce each other, and Whitley, showing her jealousy, starts being really, that nice nasty Whitley. It was almost like season 1 Whitley, called the girl fat, called the girl in her nice way, talking about be sure to be careful what you ordering on the menu. Told the girl she ain't that pretty. I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And it got really kind of nice nasty. Then she kind of was talking to Dwayne about, they were talking about going out to the club afterwards, and she was like, "Oh well, Dwayne, make sure you're careful, you got to be up early." And even Julian was like, girl, if you don't let them enjoy their date. Now I'm sure Julian peeped what it was, but he ain't say nothing at first. He just was like, "Okay, cool." Even to the point where when their table was ready, Whitley was trying to make up an excuse to go back into the restaurant. And Julian was like, "Girl, you can't chase them through the whole restaurant. Okay, let them have their date. Let them enjoy their time." So we get back to the dorm, and you've got Whitley with Julian saying their good night and doing their good night kisses, and you got Dwayne and his date, saying their good nights to each other and talking about how much fun they had and how wonderful it was. And so then it became Whitley and Julian trying to outdo Dwayne, Whitley trying to outdo Dwayne really, and being loud and, "Oh, me amor, I had such a good time, me amor. Oh, da 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 da." And Dwayne talking about some, "Yes, girl, you was so sexy, you was this." And Julian asked, Whitley about it. Julian was like, "Listen, what's up with you and Dwayne?" And she was like, "What? Dwayne is like my brother. Like, there's nothing going on between me and Dwayne." And he was like, "Girl, there's something going on between you and Dwayne. Like, I ain't jealous or nothing, but there's clearly a history there." And she was like, "No, there's no history. I mean, we're just friends. It's no big deal." And so, Dwayne is actually sitting on the steps after they, and Julian says, "Listen, I think your brother wants to talk to you." And so they end up having a conversation, and he sort of is like, "Whitley, thank you so much for hooking me up with her. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to do it again. Oh, we had such a good time," so forth and so on. So later on, Dwayne goes to Whitley, and he tells her, he says, "Listen, I appreciate what you did, but don't do that again. Like I like you, Whitley, and I don't want to play this game. I don't want to do this, He said, "But I need a clean break." And he said, "Let me get one last kiss so I can have a clean break and say goodbye." And she was like, "Boy, I got a whole boyfriend. That is probably not the best idea." He was like, "No, seriously, like that's what I need to do. I need to get you out my system once and for all. I just need a clean break from Whitley." And so she agrees to let him give her a kiss, and she leans in like she getting ready to get this whole, trapped in a blizzard type kiss, and he leans over, gives her a little peck on the cheek. And of course she was like, "Well, what's that about?" He was like, "That's a kiss from your friend." And so I said at the beginning that I didn't remember this episode because I remembered it, but I didn't remember it. Like, when you think about the Whitley and Dwayne roller coaster, like, I don't even remember them having this clear of a conversation about the relationship that almost was, that wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I felt like they had just sort of tap danced around each other all season until the next year, right? So, that was the other thing. I'm sorry. Dwayne tried to come up with these rules for their friendship rules, because he's like, let's not talk about our boyfriend and girlfriends with each other, because right now I can't handle it. Like, I need a minute, but for right now, I don't want to hear about how wonderful of a man Julian is, because I can't handle that. Julian is so wonderful, So they go through this whole list of rules, and then, like I said, he ends up saying, "Listen, I just need to get you out of my system, because you're right. You know, we're friends, and we should be able to just talk as friends and just enjoy our friendship. But that I just didn't remember that clear of a conversation between the two of them. I definitely remember when Julian came on the scene, and I remember that Dwayne was never here for Julian. Like, I definitely remember that. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. It was a good episode. It wasn't like one of the more memorable ones, because like I said, I remembered it, but I remember all the specifics of it. But it was a good episode. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.